Good morning, Destiny Church. My name's Cody here, and we are in the last week of our Life of Christ series. It's been a powerful series. I really encourage you, if you missed yesterday's service, Sunday's service, get on Facebook, hop on it and watch it. It was so powerful learning about the kingdom of God and how we are supposed to further that and how we can see revival in our lives and in our church. This morning I'm going to be talking a parable, the parable of the talents. To sum that up, it's simply there's a master, 3 servants. The master has entrusted his talents to the 3 servants. When he comes back, 2 of the servants have actually grown their talents and 1 had just stowed his away. And then coming at the end of that parable, the master says to the last servant that did not grow his talents, he called him lazy and said, "This is not what I wanted you to do with these." And so when we're talking about that, again, a parable has spiritual meaning that we can apply to our lives about the heart of God and how we're supposed to live in our lives. And the first thing that we kind of want to look at is the talents that were given to the servants. It is the master's talents. So if you look at your life, the talents that you have, the treasures that you have, the abilities that you have, anything that you have in your life, let's first of all remember, it's not yours. It's not your talents, but God has entrusted you with His talents. If we want to apply this parable to our life, we can simply look at it as Jesus has entrusted us with His most valued possession. In the parable, the talents that were given to them, if we would convert it to our eyes now and our monies today, it would be $2 million plus of the talents that were given to the servants. So if we look at that, that's a lot of money. But if we look at it spiritually in our lives, God has entrusted us with His talents in His most prized possession. Now, some may argue what specifically God's most prized possession is. But if we look at the whole Bible as a whole and the heart of God, we can simply look at it as the kingdom of God, which simply means that God's bringing His people, His creation back to Him, and everything that is happening within that is for His glory. So ultimately, all the resources that add up that God has given you, the talents for His greatest possession, is for His glory. So a few things, once we know the idea of what the parable is, how we can apply that to our life and the treasures and the talents that God has given you, there's 2 things that I think we can look at. We can look at the parable and say, hey, the reason that the master liked the 2 other servants was because they were more successful. And I think in our culture, why I love this parable in our culture, we're all about success, all about getting better. But simply, I think the spiritual aspect of this and what Jesus was trying to teach is you should not be so focused on success, but you should rather see the value of being faithful. I'll say that again. You should not be so focused on success. You should rather be focused in seeing the value of being faithful, because that's what God is ultimately looking for. I think sometimes we get so caught up in success that we never stay faithful. We just focus so much on success. And success is a good thing, because I truly believe that if God has called you to it, He's going to equip you for it because it's for His glory, and you will ultimately be successful. I don't know what that success looks like, but you will be. Success should be ultimately the fruit, not the purpose. The purpose should be ultimately staying faithful to what God has given you. So as I close up today, I challenge you with the talents, the success, anything that God has given you, ultimately the resources in your life to further the kingdom of God and to bring Him glory. I challenge you to look at what God has given you. Look at, hey, the talents that God has given me, the resources, the family around me, the local church that I've invested in, those things, because ultimately what we're trying to do is bring God's kingdom down on earth and live that out, because ultimately that's how revival will start. And once we bring that down and see the talents that God has given us, we can say, hey, am I being faithful with that, or am I just striving after success? Because God does not care about your success. He's focused on His glory, and ultimately He's going to look at how faithful you are with what He has given you. And you're going to be held accountable to that, as the servants were in the parable. So again, I challenge you, look at the talents, the resources that God has given you, and see how you can further the kingdom. Don't look at the level of success. Just look at what God has given you and go further the kingdom. Have a great day.